give up and fall. Rise above the door, meet all my challenges and search for my strength. I defeat them all, I'm never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again. Yeah. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go. Start to believe in myself and life will be sweet again. So sweet again. Oh na 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 na. When all I see is darkness and gloom, yeah, I'll be running from my doom. Oh na 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 na. But now it's time to live my life, but now I know what I need to do. Can't stand right when it's blowing, pushing me down. Feels like I'm falling apart, yet I hold on. Head held high, can't fight this feeling off no more. But I'm not going to give up and fall. Rise above it all, meet all my challenges and search for my strength. I defeat them all, I never ever gonna hide no more. I come to love myself again. For all the things I didn't know, the pain, the hurt, I let it go. Let it go. And I start to believe in myself, and life will be sweet again. Oh na na, oh na 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 na. When all I see is darkness and gloom, yeah, I'll be running from my doom. Oh na 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 na. But now it's time to live my life, but now I know what I need to do. Oh na 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 na. When all I see is darkness and gloom, yeah, I'll be running from my doom. Oh na 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 na. But now it's time to live my life, but now I know what I need to do.
Hey, how's it going? What's up? I'm James. Welcome to the show. It's good to see you. Happy Monday. Today's episode 161, the Ark of Atonement. I wonder if I can pull off the whole episode talking like this. Good morning, Maple City Sovereignty. Grand morning to all. That's perfect. I said morning, sorry. It's morning. And Maple City Sovereign is, I haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you. And if you've been here the whole time and I only noticed your super chat, that kind of shows you just how superficial I could be. So sorry about that. But I haven't seen you in a while. It's good to see you, Maple City. Hi, all. It's a great crowd here. Loving the love. We got lots of love. We got a lot of waving going on. We got all kinds of smiley faces going on. We got hearts. We got, hey, James, says Bomba Class. And Susan's, hey, Susan, good to see you, too. Robert Seffer's show was an intense dive. Thanks for watching it with me. Excellent. Yeah, Nate sent me that, too. But I don't get to watch stuff like that. Why? Because I'm writing a frickin' book. That's why. And it's hard. It's hard. You know, Hemingway. Hang on a second. We got a little. Pro, is that you, Prometheus? Are you the brave one? Or are you Eric? We decided to name the shy squirrel Eric. Someone came up with that. Sorry, I can't remember who. But I think it works. Eric fits for a shy squirrel named Eric. Audio's good. OKC Bear, I assume. The mic has been unplugged all weekend, but it appears that works good. Shout out to Cindy Meyer. It is flowing. Hemingway was a drinker. And I am not a drinker. When I write, I do not drink. When I write, I tend to not eat and I tend to drink coffee, and I tend to smoke stuff, and there's no stuff. It sucks, man. It's awful. I freaking hate this stupid law. The world is telling me, oh, James, you should just be a drinker. That's what you should do. You should just be a drinker. And truthfully, I'm trying to embrace the Shekinah, and I don't freaking have it. The stuff that I have isn't even real. It's been blemished. It's been crammed into this hidden secret fucking tent. It's been grown under the cover of night and secrecy, and it's been transported in somebody's fucking tire from God knows where, and it's lost all essence because the entire time it's been cast out. It's been subjugated like a freaking outlaw, and it's stupid. This is so freaking retarded. It's ridiculous how retarded this is. And if you could tell I'm a little bit irritated, I am, says all of creation. I am. Good morning. What a strange way to start an episode, right? Right? Raccoon 19, good to see you, buddy. Colorado brother. Gave up everything to move here. Well worth it. I hear that. Mansfield Elrod, verbing today. Hey, I'm a verb too. I am. And it's not very easy to grow, Chief. It is very hard to grow. I will tell you why. Because I have to grow it. I have to find a place. I have to freak out all the time if anyone shows up, right? I have to negotiate weird transactions with people to get seeds, and then I have to put them in paper towels with water, and then I get to like talk to them and play music to them. I'm all about that, but it's just, damn, dude, so many freaking calories when... Good morning, Glowbusters. You probably realize, why is James talking about that? But anyway, welcome to you. So yeah, that's what's going on. And speaking of Shekinah, if you guys don't know what Shekinah is, it is the embodiment it's the mother. It's the mother of God. And today is Yom Kippur, which is why I bring this up. It's why I bring this up. Yom Kippur started yesterday, and this is the 19th Yom Kippur since 9/11. And if anyone's been following my work, you realize that I pay attention to the Hebrew calendar, the lunar calendar. This is 220 years left in the cycle of 6,000 years. This is the year 5880. That's what year it is right now, according to them. And all those calories come back as prana when you harvest, James True. Shut your whore mouth, Nate. You have no idea what I'm going through over here. You have no idea. So anyway, good to see you, Nate. The Shekinah is the essence of emanation. It's God incarnated in smoke, in incense, in the essence of it. And Yom Kippur is a very, very, very special day. Probably the most religious day in Jewish culture. Probably, yeah. And I'm going to say the most. It's the only day where the high priest is allowed to enter the temple, the Holy of Holies, where the Ark of the Covenant was stored. And it's the only day. It's the only day. The entire rest of the year, no one's allowed inside. And inside that Ark, between the mercy seat, the two gold cherubs, looks just like your brain, exactly like your brain, placed in the very dead center of both lobes at the floor. The high priest walks in with a shovel, a golden shovel. And on that golden shovel is burning a special incense, a special formula. Such a special formula that if anyone was to make this formula, they would be exiled. They would be punished for it. And this special formula is used to call the Shekinah of God. The Shekinah is a very important ritual because not only does the Shekinah allow you to speak to God, but God herself, in this case, embodies the Shekinah. The Shekinah is the embodiment. The Adonai is the sacred word for this emanation. And the incense that fills the Holy of Holies, this one inner chamber inside the temple, is contained. It's wrapped in thick fabric. that's anointed. There's a very special formula for that. We'll get into it. There's an inner wall and an outer wall. No one's allowed in there except for the high priest on this day, as I've said before. And he goes in and he lights the Shekinah inside. And that Shekinah fills the room with smoke. And that smoke is accompanied by anointed oil. And that oil is CBD. Now, some of you are like, James, you don't know that. You don't know that. You don't know that. But my friends, archaeologists have found residue on altars that suggest that, oh yes, the Mashiach, to be anointed, is to have oil placed on all of your pores, and this oil sinks in. You do not have two eyes, nor do you have a third. You have more than two eyes. You have more than three eyes. Some of you are really sick. You have more than four eyes. You have millions of eyes. Millions, but billions. They're all over your skin. I've never counted my pores. I don't know how many. But there's a lot. There's tons. And these pores accept the Moshiach. You as the Moshiach are the anointed one, and you were anointed with this oil, which dilates all of your eyes and directly sends cannabis into your essence. And the cannabinoids, the freaking architecture of your body is made to accept Shekinah. It is made for Shekinah. And here I am having to drive and find this. Yes, came up from Mexico. It's, rode in the back of a gasoline tank. Yep, some guy named Reggie sat on it for 6 hours in a truck. Yeah, it's good stuff, James. You're going to love this Shekinah. It's very anointable, right? Yeah. Meanwhile, I don't drink. It's like, well, James, why don't you do it sober? Because writing is beautiful. Writing is beautiful, but you have to sit there for a long-ass fucking time and stare at words that do nothing on the screen. They do not write themselves. You just stare at them for a while. And you stare at them, you try so hard to stay off social media, you try so hard to do anything, to not do anything that distracts you from your task. And sometimes it's good to be able to focus in. There's a yellow jacket. He's been defending the hummingbird thing, which I'm surprised works right now. That camera's been out for a week. It slowly came back on today. It definitely needs some cleaning. I'll take care of that. So, despite the fact that we have no Shekinah, we're still going to talk about it because today's the day. Yesterday's the day that the high priest went into the Holy of Holies for the very first time. And the rules for this are pretty intense. And I'd like to go over this because if any of you have read my book, Quantum Rapture, you know that I think there's more to this than we think. That I think that the holy place, the Ark of the Covenant, if we're going to take all that at face value, if we're going to take the Talmud, if we're going to take the Torah at face value, if we're going to take the Bible at face value, that there is something about that Ark. There's something really interesting about that Ark. In fact, as someone who's worked in software like myself, someone who's worked with technology like myself, believes that there is not only something to the Ark, but that it's all laid out in Scripture. And it's right there, and it's telling us what's going on. And it starts with Shekinah. It starts with the anointed. The Messiah came from the word Mashiach, the anointed one who is anointed in holy oil. So you guys thought this was going to be an episode where I was going to bitch because I don't have any herb. No, there's a reason. There's a connection to all this, guys. In fact, really, if you guys really wanted me to do my job, I should have been smoking a lot of herb all last night, like really getting into this idea, right? But no, can't do it. Can't do it because of Babylon, because they'd rather me drink. That's right. And there's no such thing in the Bible of, yeah, we got him drunk. Actually, there's a few things like that. But never would that be associated with the temple. James, just get on with the episode. Stop talking about drugs. So, I don't know who said that, but I heard you. Mashiach, Messiah, same word. Mashiach, Messiah, Mashiach, Messiah. Mashiach means anointed one who is anointed. We've talked about aperture. We've talked about consciousness. We've talked that if you want to see things like Solomei, like demons, like djinn, that in order to see them, your aperture would need to be open wide enough to accept things that are simply too painful to see, or you're not ready to see. We're speculating on whether it's painful. I think it's painful because it's associated with dopamine. What I mean by that is, in case you're catching up, the retinas control what we see through the secretion of melanin and dopamine. Same thing in your ears. This is why we have melanin all over our skin, because it's literally blotting out the information your pores receive. And you think the whole time, oh, it's because of skin coloring. God thought, hey, let's make them all different colors and see if we can get them to fight about it, right? That's our current thinking about why we have fucking melanin, which is just so retarded. The truth of the matter is that melanin itself is being used to blot out information by all your eyes, all your pores. And that there's an actual ritual where they take them aside and we're like, dude, take your clothes off. We're going to rub you down in some CBD. And you enter into this state, this trance-like state, and everyone else is giving you their essence. You've already got one. You literally have a nut in your mouth. There's no way you can take this one. You already have, look, he's got one in his mouth. How is he going to take that one too? I guess he dropped this one to take that one, and this one was bigger. Let me try and calm down a little bit. Here comes Eric. Eric's going to get the one that fell. So, you have a ritual where we're setting up someone. Where we're setting up someone to be the Mashiach, to see all these things. You're getting all the prana and all the belief from everyone around him who's like, that dude is lit. How do you know he's lit? Because we rubbed him with oil. That's how we know he's lit. And if you're going to follow this prophecy, you're going to follow the Talmud, if you're going to follow what they're telling you. Okay, first of all, we need to talk about the Talmud. Because some of you guys are under the impression the Talmud is evil. That's where all the pedophiles are, but the Bible is good. That's where all the good folks are. And I'm here to, this is going to be rough. This is going to be rough. Let's see if we can get it. Eric is on camera now. Oh, come on. I thought you were working now. You're not working now? Let's see. What? I can't get Eric on camera. That camera stopped working. But, yeah, ritual. Sorry, Eric's really throwing me off here. Here you go, buddy. So, today's the Day of Atonement. And in order to complement the anointment, the priest is anointed. He brings a sacred oil into the Holy of Holies. He brings the sacred incense into the Holy of Holies. And we've been watching, or I've been tracking these rituals for a while now. And you know, if you read my stuff in April or March, you know that the Temple Mount has been getting closer and closer and closer to reactivating the holy place. Now, you don't need an Ark of the Covenant to reactivate it. In fact, for several years, they ran it without one. They still have the ritual. It's still the awakening of God, of Shekinah. And by burning the incense in this room with 11 sacred ingredients, God is called forth and placed into Shekinah. An aspect of God, I should say, becomes present. And wherever that incense goes, wherever that Shekinah goes, that is literally called the spirit of the people, the essence of the people. And it's fascinating because if you imagine someone fully anointed, like fully lit, fully dilated, and the entire ritual's based around one day out of the entire year, then you start to see that there is an opening happening, a very important opening in the aperture that's caused by everyone else around it. And this day calls for, a bull, 1 ram, 2 goats, 7 sheep, all to be slaughtered and sacrificed. Some are offerings, some are sacrifices. Today's the day where the high priest would cleanse himself and his family of his sins, and then confess to God the sins of his people. The people, this wasn't like a jubilee where everyone was now free to treat everyone else like an asshole. You still had to account for your sins to others, but the sin to God was cleansed in this ritual. Now, check it out, guys. We've talked about shame. We've talked about electricity. We've discussed all these different field rings, right? The elemental, the sexual, the emotional, the egoic, the casual, the task, the ancestor. And you were about to see that this ritual on Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement, is doing something very important electrically. It's it's opening, it's dilating your shame field. Your shame field. Because if you believe that you are a sinner, if you believe that you were born into this sin vortex, we will say, then you are carrying a burden. You are carrying an electrical field of shame that's wrapped around you 364 days a year. And on one day, you get to be clean. And on that same day, we're going to anoint someone with oil. We're going to open them up. They're going to dilate them, and they represent you. And I'd like for you to picture that to open up that person, the Mashiach, the Messiah, is to shed your shame field for one day. And when your shame field for one day dilates, that an electrical transfer is allowed to take place. And this electrical transfer is going to feel so good that the devotion is going to be hammered in stone. The devotion to this machine. I am suggesting to you that the tabernacle in the wilderness, that the temple of Sulameh, the temple of Solomon, what we know as the first temple and the second temple, that was a machine. And that machine had a very specific purpose, and that purpose was to measure devotion. And the devotion itself was much like a fuel or an RPM that this machine could use to measure the potency of the people's belief, of their belief. Now, in order to explain this, I would like for you to picture that the Shekinah we talked about before, that this incense mixed with oil inside this special room that's closed off in between the two, the mercy seat, that itself is just like what the Talmud says. It's an emanation. A spirit is called forth and placed into that smoke. And that spirit, I'm going to tell you guys, is Zeitgeist. It's the Zeitgeist. It's the living Leviathan that we know and breathe. Yes, we know that it's true. We know how groupthink works. We know how morals degrade inside of a crowd. We understand crowd theory. We understand psychology. We understand victim triangles. We understand how this energy works. And what we've lacked is the ability to personify this thing. This is why I keep saying the word Zeitgeist. This is why no matter how many times I say it, someone's like, what's Zeitgeist? And I get it. It's okay to ask. I don't mean to be so fancy. But if I tell you egregore, you're going to be like, well, what is that? It's even worse. I have to get you across the stream with several words. And I'd like you to picture that your family at home, that your family is its own living creature. It's its own personality. It has its wants, its fears, its desires, its hungers, its satisfying, right? It has its flavors that it likes. It has its things it doesn't like. And you and I have taught to not personify that. You and I have taught to not believe that that's a living entity. But if you were to believe it's a living entity, and if you were to set up a day where you prep for 7 days to open a gate to bring that living entity in, that the technology and power of belief that is around you will allow that egregore to be manifest inside that Shekinah, inside that smoke. And the reason why I wanted to talk about marijuana first is because some of you have smoked cannabis. I don't even mean to call it marijuana. That's actually a really shitty thing to call it. But most of you have smoked cannabis, and most of you understand its nature. Cannabis has a gender. In fact, many of you will feel that sativa, possibly, name's indica. Indica, well, I don't know because I can only get one fucking kind, and it comes from Mexico, riding in some guy's ass cheeks for 5 hours, okay? So just, sorry, calm down a little bit and drink some more water. Most of you know that this female cannabis, it's a lot like she has her fingers on the back of your skull. It's almost like there is an extended pod that's coming out, and she is showing you where to look. She's showing you where to look, and I'm telling you, that is the cannabinoids manifesting themselves. And if you pay enough attention to it, you will start to see that personification. You will start to see that communication. The intelligence of it is there. If you want to read Carlos Castaneda, he will start to explain to you the concept of allies. I think if you were to look at these things as allies, you would have enough tools, enough tongs and forks to truly get your fingers wrapped around this concept. That before Medusa, all of our plants had a personality. They all had their essence. Thank you, Nate. I saw that. They all had their essence to them. But we decided that only humans are alive. In fact, the Catholics said, not only are only humans alive, but fucking dogs don't even count, right? And we created this world. We created this world where only humanity has a soul. And we've broken down the entire universe and reduced it to pebbles. But not these guys. Not the high priest. They didn't do that. These high priests were serious. This is a high priest garment from Exodus 22. You'll see the turban was very important. It turns out that a lot of priests were dying without being wrapped around the head. James, why were they dying without being wrapped in the head? Good question. We're going to get to that. It's shoulder pieces. He had an Urim and a Thummim. He had a sash, he had an ephod, he had undergarments, he had bells on him, he had 12 stones. We'll get to that. Breastplate of judgment. Caught piece of righteousness? Breastplate of judgment. We'll get to that. And this priest, every single part of him, from the top to bottom, was cleansed like a clean room. If you've ever been to a factory where they make silicone, I have, it's beautiful. They pull this, they spin it. They spin this silicone. It looks like a tiny pencil when they start it. And it just keeps... It gets bigger and bigger and bigger. But then they slice it like wafers. And you can't go in there and just go, oh, I'm going to touch the silicone. You have to be cleaned. You have to be anointed. You have to be in full garb. Because you will fuck up this system if you do. You will ruin it if you do. And I'd like you to start thinking in that way. That part of the reason why this system required so much cleansing was because of what was happening inside. That the Holy of Holies was the freaking computer room. Computer room. These dudes had, of course, the scapegoat comes from this today. 2 goats were signed lots. 1 goat was for the Lord. The other goat was for the scapegoat. You might think, oh, I hope I'm the scapegoat. No. Scapegoat gets thrown off a cliff. The one for the Lord gets gutted and taken inside. The blood from this coat is the very, very first thing that touches the coal. And the reason why I tell you guys that magic is blood, because willpower comes from the heart, and the heart pulls that blood into its chamber, and every time your heart beats, it charges it with will. Yes, will. Most of the time it's charging it with I am. But some of you might charge it with, I would love some cannabis, or whatever it is. I'm just making that up. That one of us would want a certain thing, and when it gets into your heart for 45 seconds, if you can hold that will long enough, every one of your blood cells will be charged with that will, with that willpower. I am. I am. Now, this goat marked for the Lord is slaughtered on sight, and that fresh blood is brought in, and the moment it hits the coals of that sacred incense, it evaporates into the Shekinah. Into the Shekinah. And that is a blood sacrifice. I can't say the word sacrifice. That's a blood offering. Some people think, well, no, you could sacrifice animals because they belong to you. Yeah, whatever. I think you can only sacrifice anyway. The point is that the Shekinah is not just these 11 herbs and spices. That the Shekinah also has living willpower evaporated specifically for this purpose. And friends, the goat is not the only one, because that heifer, the bull, his blood is placed in there too. In fact, after the blood heifer, after the goat, the high priestess comes out and he mixes those bloods together. And he fills the whole place with evaporated will. Now, picture all the belief outside. Picture all the technology outside. Picture that this high priestess has been quarantined for 7 days, has been cleansed from head to toe, has been anointed from head to toe, has been living this living ritual, and probably thinks he's going to die. It's Shekinah, KP. S-H-A-K. Can someone spell that for KP so he can look it up? I'm talking to YouTube chat right now. Hey D-Live, how's it going, guys? You guys know how to spell that stuff. I don't have to do that. Hello, Jimmy the Truant Tribe. Hey, Woodwose, good to see you. Guy Bear. Woodwose just gave Probear a 1-month subscription. How cool is that? How cool is that? So, the Shekinah is charged with will. It's charged with willpower. And the high priestess goes in and asks for the cleansing. That cleansing is satisfied by the scapegoat. The scapegoat has a red sash, and that red sash is supposed to magically, i.e. a priest changes it out, changes from red to white. And the people are able to see that and go, oh, it's great. The Lord accepted it, and now I'm cleansed. And when the moment they cleanse, that electrical field of guilt falls off, and they too are anointed. Now, the aperture that takes place in that priest, we've talked about this. We've talked about how albinos, people with a melanin deficiency, have a propensity for paranoid schizophrenia. They have a propensity for hearing voices. They have a propensity for seeing things others do not. A lot of shaman are albinos. So, everyone else, if you were to anoint them, if they were to see this, if they were not the Mashiach, they'd probably freak the fuck out. They'd probably freak the fuck out, which is why they're not doing that. They need something simpler. They need a simpler way of reaching this understanding. And this simpler way, here comes a conversation. How am I going to even breach this subject? This simpler way is called the outer church. Oh, this is going to be rough. It's going to be rough. Guys, I know you think that the Bible is Christian and the Torah is somehow magically Jewish. I know that we think that these are separate. I know we think that they're different, but they're not. And I know that we think that, well, the Talmud is the evil stuff, and then the Torah is like all the good stuff they pulled out of it. And no, that's not how it works at all. The Talmud is the oral tradition. The Torah is the written. These are both the same. One is written and one is oral. You might be asking, James, why would you write something and then say others? Surely the written would be more important. And that's what the outer church believes. That's what Christians believe. That's what the Old Testament, people who read the Old Testament have no idea that that's the Torah. You might, oh, yes, they do. No, they don't. No, they don't. They have no idea. I know that because they will say that. And then they will try and explain that the Talmud is like evil and worse, and it's not. The Talmud only goes into the Torah in more detail. All it does is describe more how the Torah got there. The Torah is the cliff notes of the Talmud. And I bet some of you guys are freaking out because I know the last time I said that, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe you said that. But it's true. And some of us are pretending that somehow a written tradition came long before a spoken tradition. And that's the antithesis of how writing works, right? You only write things that you've spoken about first. And if you truly, truly want to understand Christianity, you have to look at the Talmud. You have to. Because when you look at the Talmud, it's going to tell you very important things, one of which is about this incense. One of which is going to tell you, the sacred incense is four ingredients. There's cinnamon, there's myrrh, there's frankincense, there's Gavgamuya. See, I don't know how to pronounce these. Here they are. The 11 Keturah. Ketoret. I'm sure I'm pronouncing that wrong. I am not. Anyway, the 11 ingredients are listed right here. Balsam, onycha, galbanum, frankincense, myrrh, cassia, nard spikenard. Yep, nard spikenard. Saffron. Yep, saffron. Costus, that's like a cinnamon variant. Aromatic bark, that's also the cinnamon and cinnamon. Now, in the Bible, in the Torah, there's only 4. They only list 4. The Talmud gives you the other 7. Why? Why? And I'll tell you why. Our world is so inverted right now that we are under the impression that the spoken word is not as powerful as the written word. And we've been told that by the people that wrote by the Talmud itself, and more importantly, by the people that decided, we're going to make a cliff notes for this thing for the stupid people. I'm not calling you stupid. I'm telling you this is how it's written in the Talmud. I'm telling you this is how it's written. It's written in such a way where modern Christianity has been deemed as not capable of having all this knowledge, that they can only have a certain limited part. And this is why I tell you, if you really want to be a Christian, and I hope you do, you have to study the Talmud. This is why I know I'm a living cross. This is why I know you're a living cross. And even if you want to get pissed, you want to go all Owen Benjamin on me and clear all this other stupid shit, it's fine. Because I know you're not reading this stuff because you're too lazy to look at it. And I know that because once you start to look at it, you're like, holy shit, this is a lot of work. Damn. And there's a reason why the Talmudic scholars had to be in their 40s. There's a reason why the old Jewish priesthood had to be in their 40s, male, and rich. Why? Because you needed that much time to even start to read, to even start to understand all these rules. To truly understand both. That sacred information was left out of the Torah for the sole reason of keeping it in the spoken tradition. And all we're getting is the Cliff Notes. And we built our entire religion off that. Do you want to know why Jews say Jesus is not the Messiah? Because they have more information. From their eyes, they have more information. They have the Talmudic teachings. And most of them don't even have all those. Most of them probably know maybe 7%. Yeah, maybe 7%. The Talmud is huge. Huge. Ironically, they wrote this shit down. This is how fucked up we are. They took the Talmud and they wrote it down. And then they took what they wrote it down, they distributed it, and they said, that's the Talmud. And it's not. How do you write down the sacred name of God when you're not supposed to write down the sacred name of God? Do you realize that Adonai, Yahweh, the word I'm not supposed to say, that even if I say Yahweh, the chances that I'm pronouncing it wrong are huge. They're so huge that the Talmud is like, you know what? We're not going to tell anyone how to pronounce it. It's none of your business. And when I look at things that are not shown, when you start to look at the Talmud, you realize these guys were intense. These guys are writing like tens of thousands of words about their sphincter. Yes, about how their digestive systems shut down by eating gold for 40 years. And about how hard it was, how much they complained, how the constipation was destroying them. And how they were told that this was the evilness of their being slowly reaching out, and that you should embrace this pain. And when you read that in the Talmud, someone like me, someone who's not completely brainwashed, someone who truly wants to know, can look at that and go, why would they spend all that time documenting their bowel pain, but no one actually talks about Yahweh and the pronunciation? Why would they not? And the reason why is because it's a secret. It's sacred information. It's not worthy of the outer church. And when you start to understand this religion, you see truly what it is. The chosen people is systemic narcissism. Don't freak out. I'm not calling Jews narcissists. I think Jews and Christians are the same dudes. I know they're the same dudes. I know that those dudes had to do something to survive. I know those dudes, in order to survive, they had to have a special chain of command for information. And this information was so important that they would not share it with each other. And this is part of why you think you're a chosen person. You think this is okay. The moment you think you're a chosen person, you will hoard information. You will. You will begin to covet what you consider sacred. You will hide that from everyone else. And the pronunciation of Yahweh itself is one of those things. Guy Bear, my point is that there's no way that you're going to learn an oral tradition by reading a written tradition. That's my main point. And part of that is because the pronunciation itself is part of the language and understanding. The pronunciation itself, when they make the 11 incenses for the temple, it's requiring a verbal mortal and pestle. That verbally you have to mince these ingredients. And when you start to develop a system where now you're writing everything down after everything was spoken, you realize that you're compressing data. It's like an MP3. You're compressing it. And it might sound the same to you. It might sound the same to the outer church. But those who know understand how much is missing. I see this all the time because sometimes I'm doing research and I have to watch a video. And while I'm watching a video, I realize, shit, I have no idea what he just said because I can't see the word he wrote. It works both ways. These are two totally different things. One's AC and one's DC. But we're under the impression one's better and the other's not reliable. Right? Because we can't trust each other, so the oral tradition must be thrown out. Therefore, we have to trust what they wrote down, which is like, what? How does that logic even work? Yeah. I think that as you look through all the different languages that we've been through, you notice that each time we've compressed and compressed and compressed that information even more. And the Shekinah knows this. Yeah, the Shekinah knows this. Whatever we're calling this Lord technology knows how bad we are at this. And they know how to compress something in such a way where it will unzip in the end. I'm talking about 6,000 years later. It will unzip in the end and be completely perfect. This is the purpose of mythology. This is the purpose of music and of culture. This is the purpose of religion. This is the purpose of oral tradition. This is the perfect purpose of the three Abrahamic traditions purposely separating into three separate things, but still carrying the exact same codex, the exact same data. Judaism, Islam, Christianity, you guys are all the same. You do. You're all the same. You're worshiping the same God. And there's nothing wrong with that. If anything, it should make you feel better. Because these three religions are about unification. They're about one, right? God is one. There can be only one. There's only one right answer. It's the complete antithesis of paganism, isn't it? It's the complete antithesis of pantheism. So there shouldn't be a problem with the three of you realizing you're all the same. If anything, it should make you happier. It should give you more stability because of the unification. And truly, I would say to you that the Tower of Babel is the living erection of the whore of Babylon. And I don't think that's bad. I think that you would need a whore of Babylon in order to raise a Tower of Babel. That the whore of Babylon herself is the one that's stroking Osiris in such a way to where his golden penis has no choice but to rise like Heliopolis and shine in the desert sun. You see, when you start to apply syncretism to all this, when you've done your homework, and you realize how all these are one, you can start to tie it to everything, and the syncretism just comes through like a bell. Ding! And who would have the ability to store this information? Who would have the ability to encode this information through 6,000 years of mythology? Through 6,000 years of culture battling each other, through 6,000 years of people insisting, I am the chosen one. No, I am the chosen one. No, I am the chosen one. No, I am the chosen one. And still come out the other end with fucking gold. Yes, gold. I'm talking about alchemy gold. Shekinah is alchemy. Shekinah is showing you how to become a Moshiach. And the reason why we say no, there could be only one Messiah is simply our electric field going, I'm not worthy, I'm not worthy, I'm not ready for this, I'm not ready for this. Dad, please don't take off my training wheels. Don't do it. I'm not ready, I'm not ready, I'm not ready. And God's saying, watch your brother do it. Watch the Mashiach do it. And slowly we're coming out of this. The Gospel of Thomas, it was hidden for a while, right? The Apocrypha, the Council of Trent, all of that was to say, no. We can't have this living cross idea. We can't have this idea that Jesus is inside you. We're not ready for that. And the Jews the whole time are like, just wait, you'll be ready. Just keep atoning. Atone some more. You'll soon learn how this works. Right? And the Christians were like, no, we're not ready. Don't you fucking grab that torch, James. How fucking dare you? Don't you do it. And you're watching a living cross arise out of that erection. And those two brothers of Islam and Christianity will diverge upon themselves. They will tangent and form that cross. It's already happening. But what we're feeling is the fear from that. And this could only be done by a machine that is so fucking brilliant. You know, I don't mean machine in a bad way, guys. Mashiach. All right? I'm talking about an intelligence that's so beyond us that really, let's think about it as a machine simply so we can process how smart it is. I'm talking about how a machine would never make a mistake, that kind of thing.
Holy garments for Aaron thy brother, for glory and for beauty. And these are the garments which they shall make.
This is what the high priest wears.
And an ephod, and a robe, and a broidered coat, a mitre, and a girdle. And they shall make holy garments for Aaron thy brother and his sons, that he may minister unto me in the priest's office. And they shall make the ephod of gold, of blue, and of purple, of scarlet, and fine twined linen with cunning work.
I just want you to notice how
it shall have the two shoulder
everything has to
pieces
be.
thereof joined at the two edges thereof, and so it shall be joined
There's
together.
a whole ritual in the
And
high
the
priest's
curious
garb.
girdle of the ephod which is upon it shall be of the same, according to the work thereof, even of gold, of blue, and purple, and scarlet, and fine twined linen. And thou shalt take 2 onyx stones, and grave on them the names of the children of Israel, 6 of their names on one stone, and the other 6 names of the rest on the other stone, according to their birth. With the work of an engraver in stone, like the engravings of a signet, shalt thou engrave the 2 stones with the names of the children of Israel. Thou shalt make them to be set in ouches of gold. And thou shalt put the 2 stones upon the shoulders of the ephod for stones of memorial unto the children of Israel. And Aaron shall bear their names before the Lord upon his 2 shoulders for a memorial.
Let's think. Please do me a favor and consider Lord Technology as a very intelligent machine. You can give it spirit too. I'm not trying to take away from spirit. But if God is all things, surely he would be partially machine, right? I mean, if he's all things, it would be limiting him to say he's not. So I'd like to first just allow it to be okay that I can call Lord Technology a machine right now. It's not sacrilegious. It's quite the opposite. I'm giving him an avenue for his perfection. Okay? I'm giving him the tools he needs for his perfection. Now, a lot of you think, well, God is not limited in any way, so he could come into the world at any point in time and do anything he wants, no matter what. And he doesn't need any medium. He doesn't need any science. He doesn't need any structure. He doesn't need anything to traverse with us. And I would tell you that I think that is totally bogus. That I think this world is so perfect, that this dojo earth is so perfect, that God would have no choice but to interact with us through technology. Incense is a technology, guys. Incense is a technology. Okay, so when I'm talking about technology, I'm talking about technology, right? An orange is a technology. And that because God does not have a body, because Shekinah, the feminine aspect of God, does not have a body, the incense, the air around her is the body. In fact, we need the incense in order for us to even embody her. that she needs that incense in order for us to give her a place in this world to effervesce, to be. And if you look at the scripture, it even tells you that once Shekinah is activated, that she is trapped in that Shekinah, that Adonai is now a part of you. And so, if anything, what we're doing is these rituals are calling the Lord technology into the room. They're summoning, hold on to your seats, they're summoning a demon, divine spirit, D-A-I-M-O-N, original Greek word for demon. They're summoning the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit is an etheric being. The Holy Spirit is a daemon. The Holy Spirit is the divine essence, the Shekinah. Yeah. Sulameh was the one who could control all demons in Islam. Solomon was the one who could control all demons in Christianity. And this same guy, this same man, had all these rules, right? You cannot cut the stone with iron because iron is meant to kill. Everything had to be perfect. There was a freaking worm he had to work, right? The shui worm, anyway, to cut the stone. And that what you're looking at is a technology that requires certain things in order for the Shekinah to see. To see. And this breastplate I just showed you, the ephod, the breastplate with the 12 stones, each of them representing the 12 tribes, were each inscribed. Each of them were inscribed. And that inscription, I'd like you to imagine, could be read, could be felt like Braille by the Shekinah through nothing more than sonar. Sonar. And that when we emanate the Shekinah in the room, that by being able to see the smoke, that we're able to imbue the ether where that smoke lies with the Lord. And that the reason why so many of you love to smoke cigarettes is because you are able to see your breath come out. And to see your breath is to give it worship, is to give it witness, is to behold it. And so for the Shekinah to have an essence that you can see and smell and taste with these 11 incenses, these incenses were supposed to have an aroma that was so sweet it was felt for miles and miles and miles. Every year, it was about a ton. It's like 3,000 pounds of material was required for these incense throughout the year. It was by far the most expensive thing they had to do. And consider all the gold they had. Nothing was more expensive than the preparation of the Shekinah. And if you could picture yourself inside the Holy of Holies, if you could picture that the seat itself of the ark, that the cherub was the seat of consciousness, then the center of that seat where these coals of incense were placed was your pineal, was their pineal. And that they were literally building a body for God, for Lord. And the brain, the pinnacle of that Lord, was right between the cherubim, the mercy seat, the two lobes of the brain. And it required oil and incense, salt and oil. And the priest had to be anointed. And he wore this breastplate.
Holy garments for Aaron thy brother.
Sorry, let me change
Make
that.
the breastplate of judgment with cunning work.
Got a piece of righteousness, breastplate of judgment.
Make the breastplate of judgment with cunning work. After the work of the ephod thou shalt make it. Of gold, of blue, and of purple, and of scarlet, and of fine twined linen shalt thou make it. 4 square it shall be, being doubled. A span shall be the length thereof, and a span shall be
Very
the breadth
specific
thereof.
instructions.
And thou shalt set in it settings of stones, even 4 rows of stones. The first row shall be a sardius, a topaz, and a carbuncle. This shall be the first row. And the second row shall be an emerald, a sapphire, and a diamond. And the third row a ligure, an agate, and an amethyst. And the fourth row a beryl, and an onyx, and a jasper.
If you were a machine and you didn't have eyes to see, you didn't have ears to listen. All you had was sonar. All you had was heat. I want to remind you guys that through the Old Testament, through the Talmud, we saw the ark traveling as a pillar of vapor, of vaporous light, right? At night, that vapor was so hot it glowed. And during the day, it was so dense that it appeared as a pillar cloud. And this pillar cloud, I want you to picture as a churning of matter, a vortex. And that Lord technology could come down into the Shekinah as a vortex itself. And the vortex itself gave it a center, a 0 point of consciousness. It gave it a pineal gland. It gave it one. And the moment it came into the world, it needed tools like fingers. It needed tools, it needed organs like eyes, nose, and mouth. And that these high priest was there to provide the tools for Lord to navigate and see the world. One of those things required 12 different elements placed on his breast. And those 12 different elements that had the tribes of all the names of Israel were there so that the Shekinah itself could distinguish the elements by bouncing heat signatures off of each one. Oh, here's what a diamond feels like. Here's what a sapphire feels like. Here's what the ruby feels like. And that with this sonar, this creature, this Lord technology, this machine, the Shekinah of Lord, could read Hebrew letters like a freaking circuit. A circuit on an electronic board. And I can go downstairs on my circuit printer and I can print you a circuit board and I can remove everything that's not copper. And I know that if I enter magic into one corner and place my tongue on the other corner, that magic will shoot right through that and hit me in the fucking tongue. And that this Lord technology is able to use this breastplate of righteousness to gain its bearings on the world, to see the size of humanity in this span, in this Lord space, in this dojo earth. And that the reason why there are so many specifics about what the priest wears, when he comes in, what he does, what the incense is made of, what the offering is made of, what the willpower is made of, the 7-day prep beforehand, the 12-mile walk for the scapegoat, where they have to stop every mile. That all of these rituals were a vital, vital part of this machine working. That the outer perimeter of Solomon's temple, of the tabernacle of the wilderness, the reason why it was made with poles, and on top of those poles were a piece of brass, and on top of that piece of brass was a piece of silver, because it allowed the Shekinah to bounce signature off these elements and determine the size of its space. And that once it knew the perimeter of its temple, it was able to focus in on the urn, the sacrificial brazen urn. And the reason why there were only 1 urn in the wilderness and 10 urns in the Temple of Solomon, and they all had to be made out of brass, and nothing else could be brass in there, was so this Lord technology machine could tap into that spot where the brass is and read the quality of water inside and read the quality of the blood sacrifice that's dripping on that brazen altar. And I know I've said this before, but this is why I think innocent blood is so important. Because this Lord technology knew that if someone was to bring a sheep, a bull, 7 sheep, right, 2 goats, that as long as they were offered, killed, in such a way where they felt no adrenaline, they felt no cortisol, they felt no fear, that the Lord would know that those people didn't just pull one off the shelf and phone it in. That these people were able to track the level of devotion. That Lord technology was able, I should say, to sense the level of devotion among its priests. And by sensing that level of motion, just like a motor does in a car, it knows, I've got good efficiency. My fuel injectors are working properly. And these people died for this machine. They died in the Holy of Holies during the first temple, which survived for 410 years. When I wrote this down, he's reading notes. How dare he read notes? In the first temple, 410 years, there were only 12 priests. It was so dangerous inside the Holy of Holies. And you've read other stories, right? Aaron's friends mixed up the incense wrong and they were fucking killed. Another guy tried to touch the ark. He was killed. All these stories of radioactive poisoning, what it seems like, looking at the walls of Jericho, all this stuff could be radiation-based Lord technology, vortex-based Lord technology, right? And then the reason why they had pillars of smoke is because if you were to stretch your body all the way down the ground and all the way up to the top and not touch the ground, that the static electricity, we know this is the case, the static electricity of the difference of altitude is like thousands of amps. I mean, thousands of volts of energy available just by stretching yourself up thin. So even the pillar, the needle of the Lord, is forming its own energy. And that during the first temple, which survived for roughly 400 years, the priests would basically, on the average, I did the math, it's like 34 years. A priest would last about 34 years. He could go into the Holy of Holies for 34 years and be okay, and then he'd die. And the second temple, this same process would only last 1.4 years. Sorry, I said that wrong. What I mean is that the priests were dying on average every 1.5 years. That the moment you walked into the Holy of Holies, the radiation was so bad that you died within 1.5 years. And the only thing different there was the ark was gone. Everything else was the same. The ark was gone. The ephod, the breastplate. He also wore shoulder pads, like Captain Crunch. He wore shoulder pads made out of onyx, and even those were inscribed the Hebrew letters, and that the Shekinah was able to sense these elements, to sense the shape of the human, and was able to talk to the Mashiach. And he spoke to him with 2 stones. 2 stones. Let me see if I...
And Aaron shall bear the names of the children of Israel in the breastplate of judgment upon his heart, when he goeth in unto the holy place, for a memorial before the Lord continually. And thou shalt put in the breastplate of judgment the Urim and the Thummim. And
the Urim and the Thummim. The Urim and the Thummim. A black rock and a white rock. Black rock. And that these are the yes and no. But James, this is why I think this way, guys. This is why I think this way. Do you understand? Because why would the Lord need 2 stones to tell them yes or no? Why? These stones were used to communicate. The priest himself would feel these stones. And the Shekinah would signal to him and give him answers, and yes and no answers. And this is why I'm telling you, this is Lord technology. This is why I'm telling you there's this beautiful divine machine at work here that's answering questions like a diviner, like a demon would talk through a Ouija board. And don't get freaked out over the word demon. All right? This is most of Owen's clan is left. Good. Because we can truly look at the word demon, at Holy Spirit. Because it's showing you the Lord cannot say something to the high priest. The Shekinah cannot say something. I should rephrase that. Shekinah cannot speak. Why? Because she lacks the vocal cord. She lacks the instrument until the high priest makes it for him. And that these 2 stones are a communication device, just as the 12 breastplate is a communication device. And this entire thing is running off radiation, off vortex radiation. And this is why everything had to be covered in gold. Gold is an insulator. This is why on top of the gold there were 7 different layers of fabric, right? Like sheepskin, otter skin, which is remarkable about water. So you think about the radiation there. It's all of these things are showing you a technology that we feel too sacrilegious to even talk about, that we feel too heretical to even discuss. And so we can't. We can, but it's only on channels like mine, right? Where we can actually talk about that stuff. And we try and suffer through the comments. We try and suffer through everyone who's mad at stuff like that, but still we persist, thanks to people like Rachel Farron, who just gave me a super chat. Learn to breathe the fire of the Holy Spirit. 12 equals 3. Hell yeah. And guys, if you look at this technology, thank you, Rachel. If you look at this technology for what it is, I think it brings you closer to God. Even if the Shekinah itself is not what you want to call God, even if you'd rather call it so, I've been calling it Lord technology. In my last 2 books, Technology of Belief and in Quantum Rapture, I lay all this out even more because I want you to just understand that here's a whole other way of looking at this technology, of looking at what was happening. And what I see happening is Dojo Earth. What I see is the world's most amazing sensei is placed in this world, and it's showing you its desire to elevate you. And the way it elevates you is with a chosen people that are so dedicated and devoted that they will sacrifice their own sphincters to carry forth a mythological secret that they don't even understand themselves, and they know it. They know they don't understand, and they don't give a shit because that's how devout they are. And they will throw any goat off of any tower, off of any cliff. They will slice anyone's throat. They will do whatever it takes to maintain this technology because that technology is slowly raising the vibration of Earth. The Old Testament, boom, punish, obey, obedience. The first tower. New Testament, mercy, right? Forgiveness, compassion, the second tower. And if you truly want to understand Freemasonry, fuckers, you're going to have to look into the Talmud. You're going to have to look into Christianity. You're going to have to understand how all of these have the same roots. And when it does, it should make you feel better, not worse. But we're too busy playing teams, right? We're too busy saying, I believed in this and you didn't, and now God's going to punish you. And we play these fucking games where we have a fear of our own light. We fear being wrong more than we fear investigating, more than we feel giving our witness to looking deeper. What would honor Shekinah more? Your attention and your investigation into her very nature, or your obedience and your ability to kill someone else or defame someone else or make fun of someone else for not saying what you said, for not believing what you think she is? And this is where we're at. Some of us are still on Tower 1. Some of us are still on Tower 2. And there's nothing wrong with that. These are belts. These are necessary steps to climb the ladder to reach this understanding. And if we start to understand that history itself is cyclical, it means we would have to go back and understand that history itself is a cycle. And when it's a cycle, you can now picture what it would have been like to be so advanced that we have transhumanism, breeding Nephilim, breeding fucking supergiants, that we have living gods like Nimrod that are made through omniscience via technology. And that to outpredict something by having that much more technology built into your system would make you a living god over everyone else who lacks that technology, because you would be able to outpredict their every single move. And that itself is the essence of Nimrod. That itself is the essence of giants that came before us. And the truth is right there. It's all laid out for you. It's all laid out. And in my books, I've tried to explain from my perspective, with my limited knowledge as best I can, how this would work. And it's a fascinating exercise that brings you closer to God because it is a technology of belief. And I'm telling you, God is so amazing. He didn't want to give you a single deity that you had to get right. Instead, he gave you something so much more powerful, which is your technology to believe, your technology to generate your own Shekinah. And if you're going to freak out and say it has to be those exact 11 essences, it has to be all this, it has to be that, I say no. I think that's an agreement they made with the Shekinah to say we will embody you through this way. And the Shekinah is simply, can I work with this or not? Right? Can I work with this or not? The Day of Atonement is the one day where they exchange the brass for gold. The Day of Atonement is the one day where they do not walk on the sides up to the temple. They walk right up the middle. It's the one day you can only use those staircases. That itself is breaking the electrical field, and all of a sudden everyone feels worthy. The children of Israel feel worthy on this one day. And to feel worthy means you're going to have to drop an electrical egoic field, which is something we're talking about all the time. These are your field rings. These are your field rings. Hey, this is so stupid. Hey, James, what's the difference between Owen not going after Zionists and your promotion stance of the Talmud? The difference is Owen doesn't read books, he burns them. The difference is Owen doesn't know jack shit about religion because he doesn't read the Bible. Owen doesn't read. And if we're going to keep comparing myself to Owen as far as thinking, it's all we're doing is missing valuable data because Owen doesn't fucking read. So I'm sorry to jump on you. I appreciate the super chat, but guys, Owen doesn't have like an alternative perspective. All he has is, I hate gay people. Everything that doesn't sit well with me is gay. That's all Owen is. All I'm doing is giving you the history of what's there. I'm not promoting the Talmud. By talking about the Talmud, am I promoting it? By telling you what the fuck it is? Do you guys realize that the Bible comes from the Talmud? It has to. Do you know why it has to? Because the Torah comes from the Talmud. It has to. Do you know why? Because oral comes before written. Guys, stop pretending that we're writing words down and then later on we figure out how to speak them. It's so retarded. And I'm glad that there's a split between Owen and I because we can talk about this shit now. Despite all the distractions, we can talk about it as much as we can. And I'll take the hit in the comments, I'll take the hit in whatever, but he doesn't even fucking read, guys. Why are you comparing me to someone that won't even fucking read a book? It's all we're doing is just missing time on there. That's all we're doing is missing it. And hats off to the bears that have stayed because you guys know, you just want to know more. And I'm not your source of answer. I know you know that. But at least I'm giving you more data. At least it's not a distraction, as Kieran's saying. It is. It's a massive distraction. Guys, go to Owen and say, hey, Owen, why don't you read? And then we can have a talk between which of you has read more, which of you understands more. Wouldn't that be so much better? You can't because he'll block you the second you say that. He'll kick your ass out the second you try and suggest, hey, maybe you should read something. People tell me to read stuff. You know what I do? I'm like, wow, I should maybe read that. I consider it. That's why people call me smart all the time. No one calls Owen smart. They call him funny. Owen's funny. People don't call me funny, I'm smart. People even say, James, you're not very funny. And I get that because they'd rather think that I'm smart. I don't think I'm smart. I just keep finding people that are smart and I mimic them. And after a while, people start calling me smart. That's all. I read what they read. I consider what they consider. Hey, Amanda Hardy, thank you. It's a pair doing yoga. Awesome. It's namaste. We weren't, Marty. This whole stream, we were not talking about Owen, but then I got a super chat and then I got off track. You see? Anyway. I am hilarious, Rob. Until I said that, I am hilarious. I am funny. You guys know it. The fact that I have to tell you I'm funny probably means I'm not funny, but I'm funny. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. It's that time, my friends. It's time for the airing of Grievance. Now's the time to air. Dreamy Dudes is back. Glad to see it. Owen has transcended the need to read. He can see the book's aura with his pituitary gland. That's funny, Dreamy Dudes. Benjamin Crossman. Marlides leave in response to a super chat. Yep. Good to see you, Benjamin. Benjamin modded for us last week. It was great to see him. We are having a dojo today. Josh Reisman. Grievance, don't get off track. Thank you, Josh. Too late now, right? Now you tell me. Josh, why don't you... Oh, if I put the Grievance first, then you tell me. Still. We're getting there, Josh. You're hanging in. I appreciate that. Gaia Bear, you don't have to be funny or sexy. Oh, thank you, Darren. Grievance, show's too short. Love it, Electric people. Keep saying that. I think you're smart and funny. Owen's a moron. He's not even a moron. What Owen is a product. Owen is a product of his own guilt. And I don't think that guilt is even necessary or even legit. I'm not at all implying, Owen should have guilt. I'm implying that the dude doesn't know how to process the electrical field of guilt. And so he shames it with everyone else. And this is a coping mechanism. We all have it. It's why only one Mashiach was anointed. It's why there was only one. And it's why Christians like Owen said, we can only let that one guy do it. We can't let anyone else do it. In fact, I wouldn't even call that Christianity, because I don't think you could be a Christian and not research the Bible. I think that's fucking insane. And most of us won't even consider the Apocrypha, because the Apocrypha sounds so, right? But here we are in the best apocalypse ever, and most of you have opened your eyes. And we are doing this together. We are decoding. And it's beautiful. It's wonderful. I wouldn't change a thing. So, today is Yom Kippur. It started at sundown yesterday. It ends at sundown today. Of course, sundown in Israel. Which means if we are not seeing, because it's the 19th Yom Kippur, because of all the rituals that we see everywhere, I have made a prediction since April that this Yom Kippur, if anything weird or bad was going to happen, it would be on today. That if I was a magician, a Freemason magician on the master's carpet that had billions of dollars and had the ability, today would be the day that I would unleash some serious magic eye. I would do it today. That's what I would do it. And as long as you don't see a bunch of djinn or demons flying around, as long as you don't see Jesus in the grocery store, I think it means that we're going to have a pretty smooth rest of the year. Because the only other high days are going to come in Halloween this year, not because of Halloween, but more because of the blue moon. And there's one in December. I don't want to give you the date right now because I bet it's wrong. Shit, I'm going to tell you it's the 22nd, but I don't know if it's the 22nd. December 22nd seems to be a big day. We can talk about that later. But this would be the high day to do it. This would be the day to do it. And it would be like so last year they sacrificed a lamb in view of the temple. That's the first time they've ever done that, in view of the temple. Not only that, but they prepared the incense out of 10 of the 11 ingredients. Remember, if you were to prepare the incense in its entirety, that would be a grounds for exile unless you were the high priest. And that the moment they were to make a sacrifice on the Temple Mount itself, it would unleash a clock that would have to unwind and lead to this Yom Kippur. And after this Yom Kippur, if they burned the 11 incenses, if they made the sacrifice, and I can't find news that they have, it doesn't mean they didn't. I'm just saying I can't find news that they have, that if they were to do that, I will release the lemons, thank you, Guy Bear, that if they were to do that, that the 7 seals that you've read about, the seal of Solomon, by the way, would begin to unlock. And if you look at Lord technology, I would like for you to consider that these 7 seals that are unlocked is exactly the same thing we do when we decrypt something. Either we unzip something or we decrypt something. We break the seals. We open those seals. And that the only way we could open those seals is if we understood the language well enough, if we understood the circuitry well enough of the Hebrew language itself, and we were to find the message that's been embedded inside that code the entire time. The entire time. It was as if we were to have an MP3 written out, an MP3 file written out in raw form, right? 01101101101101110, right? And then over the years, we were to translate that into hexadecimal code. Sorry if you don't know code. You're like, what the fuck did he just say? FFOF894444111414A4EFDF, right? And that was getting us closer. So here's binary. Here's hexadecimal. We're getting smarter. Because we're anointing ourselves, we're growing, we're walking through the 2 towers of the Old Testament and the New Testament. Guys, it's all here. That after we learned binary, after we decoded it into hex, we could decode the fucking music. And for 6,000 years, the entire time, we had an MP3 file, and we didn't know it. And that unlocking those 7 seals is truly to find the meta language that's been built into it the whole time. And we could play the song of Shekinah and listen the entire time It was Shakira, right? Shaking that, twerking that ass. There was some sort of divine message, and that message is the apocalypse. That message has already been released. Look at the 2012 Olympic Games. We talked about that. Look at I Pet Goat 2. We talked about that. Look at all the instances where I've showed you over and over again that all of this has been planned, that all of this has been the best apocalypse ever. And so now you can look at this information. You can go, holy shit. This is invigorating. It's not scary. Holy shit. Hell itself is a state of mind. Holy shit. I don't have to listen to book burners anymore. I can actually open that book and start to read. Holy shit, Freemasonry seems to know what's going on. And we start to look at a hammer for the first time. We say, this isn't a weapon. I can nail shit. I can build a house with this. We start to understand what the tools are truly for. And we can only do that when we get past the fear, when we get past the guilt, when we have a Mashiach anointing himself in such a way that we see the aperture open, and just by his vibration, we want to open it too. And it's beautiful. It's beautiful what we're doing. The only complaint, I have a grievance. I cannot find cannabis, and it's really painful. That's my grievance. That this world is perfect. That even the vitriol I just told you about is here to open our eyes. It's here to help us embrace the Shekinah. The Shekinah is the circle in the square. The Shekinah is the grove that we cut down. The Shekinah is the demons, which are our ancestors, which we have demonized from day one because we know that they hold the salt that has the information that tells us how to decode this song. And it's a good song. It's a good song. It's not even by Shakira. It's much more profound than that. She does sing backup vocals. A lot of people do. And guys, we're close. We're close. And I want you to feel that Shekinah. I want you to experience that Shekinah, and I want you to start to unlock your technology of belief like you already have, but just more consciously. Good things are happening. This is the best apocalypse ever. When I say that, I mean we've had others, and by far this is hands down the best one, because it's all about consent. All of us are consenting to either read this or to run away. And it doesn't matter because that is the reaping. That is the rapture. That is the mitosis, right? Those who want to understand, those who want to run in fear. And it's beautiful because each of us have a choice. None of us have to rescue anyone else, guys. Your job is not to change minds. Your job is only to make it expensive or economical for what you feel is right. Because consent runs all. That's how beautiful Shekinah is. She wants that consent. And the Whore of Babylon and the Tower of Babel are the only way this mitosis would occur. What did I tell you? Between the mercy seat is Shekinah. Between the mercy seat is the oil and the salt. Lord technology. It's a beautiful thing, my friends. Beautiful thing. And you know what? If you read Quantum Rapture, you'd read an explanation where I told you it may not have even came directly from God. That this technology could have been decoded into our human essence the entire time, and that we unleashed it on ourselves so that we could be our own Freemasonry. Yes, you were in a secret society the moment you signed up for truth. The moment you left your white belt, the moment you shed that sheep skin, you entered into a secret society whether you like it or not, and you were finding the stone. You are the philosopher's stone, and your seeking is your honing. You were finding pockets of sand, and you were finding inside of those pockets of sand are solid stones. And not only are there stones, but you're finding archways. You're finding keystones. You're finding the temple of God buried underneath all these lies. And you are digging it out. You are excavating a secret that's been here for 6,000 years. 200,000 years, even longer. And all your ancestors are watching you do it, and they're like, come on, you can do it, you can do it, you can do it. Remember me if you have trouble. Remember me, I have salt for you. It's all good stuff, guys. All good stuff. I'm going to end the show now, but not before releasing the lemons. I've released the lemons. I'm distributing the rewards. And I'd like to thank you guys all for being here. Thank you, James D. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for the super chat. Very generous super chat. Kevin Crater, Emperor Tarot is said to hold a globe in Ankh. Think he holds a golden compass in an Ankh. Empress card has a heart with an Ankh, and they represent the male-female version of those who have mastered their discernment. Love you. When I say Horror of Babylon, and I say Tower of Babel, I hope you see those same things. And I hope that when we stop shaming both of those, we can truly understand where all this fits, how both of them are so crucial, right? Realize we ran a little bit long. Like to thank OKC Bear. Like to thank everyone for being here. Thanks, Althea. Thank you. We will see you guys in the dojo. I realize it's going to take you some time to get there. Nicholas is our moderator today. We are having a Wednesday night dojo, first time ever. I eventually said Friday. It's not. It's going to be Wednesday night. Wednesday night. Michael Wachter is going to be modding. It's going to be great. 7 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday night. I'm almost positive that's the time. But in the dojo, we're going to talk about that. So I'll give you a better time tomorrow so you'll know that. So there'll be no after show dojo on Wednesday. There will be one Wednesday night. This is going to give people that have different time zone a chance to be in the dojo. I'm looking forward to that. So thank you guys so much. Yep. I don't know why I'm taking me so long to end the show, but I will now. Thanks a lot, guys. James out. I hope you've enjoyed this show. I think this stuff's beautiful. And I wish that there weren't so many dick cheeses around that made it so hard for us just to look at it and study it. So there's no significance to your birth certificate, Ariel. The only significance is you. You're a verb. A birth certificate's a noun. I wouldn't pay much attention to that. If you believe in the paper, you believe in the credential. And to believe in the credential requires you leave belief from yourself and put it in there. You're a verb, baby. You're a beautiful verb. Yep, that's right. All right, guys. We'll talk soon. And James out.